know the vibes out on this side. Yeah, you know the vibes.
When did you realize that you weren't meant to sell, that you were meant to build?
I was surrounded by all the things I dreamed of, and I was still miserable.
What was the first thing that broke, and how did you fix it? What do you do when insecurity hits you?
The reason why a boat sinks is because of the water that gets in. When does a person sink? It's because of the thoughts that you allow to come in. People don't get exposed by when they're on top. They're exposed by when their back is against the wall.
All right, TruTalks family, today's episode is special for me because this isn't just a guest. This is one of my great friends. Today we've got Abel Gilbert, the founder of One Path Realty, and somebody I've watched impact people's lives up close. On paper, One Path has done over $2 billion in sales volume, 4,088 closed units since 2018. That's real and that's serious. But the reason I respect Abel isn't just the numbers, it's the man. Abel is a type of leader that pours into people daily. He's not just building agents. He's a friend who'll tell you the truth, coaches your mindset, and still be the first person to pick you up when life hits. So in this episode, we're not just talking business. We're talking what it really takes to build a team, lead people, build real confidence, and stay anchored when success still feels empty. Abel's story is deep. His leadership is real. And if you're trying to grow in real estate or in life, you're going to take something from this. Abel, welcome to TruTalks.
Thank you, Luis. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you here.
Yes, I'm super excited to have you here today. And man, you look good, bro. You look good. Tell me,
Thank you. So do you.
Tell me what you've done, man. I was looking at pictures from you from a while back, and I look at you now, man, and you're like 10 years younger.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to talk a lot about that today, which is, making intentional decisions. And for me, it got to a point where I felt like the outside didn't look like my inside, right? Like I didn't look outside the way that I felt inside. And once you get to that point, all that's left is to make decisions, and not just once, but multiple times. So when it comes to your health, when it comes to, your physical, your mental, your spiritual health, you can't just make one decision and say, okay, I'm going to become this person. You got to make decisions every day, multiple times a day.
Yep. Every day when that sweet tooth kicks in, when you need to eat a salad instead of a smash burger.
Yeah.
Trust me, I'm going through it right now.
Yeah.
Since August of 25,
Yeah.
I've lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
And then I hit a plateau. And then now I'm on another regimen and I've lost 11 pounds in the last 10 days.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do what you do. I'm trying to take some age off of me.
Yeah. It's a cycle, that we all go through, men and women. We all have different stages in life. And I think what matters most is, because it's like peaks and valleys, right? It's not allowing yourself to go too deep in the valley so that you can, because then it's harder to get back up. So you're going to go through the cycles. Just make sure that your valley isn't that deep.
Wow. Make sure your valley isn't that deep.
Yeah.
You see, it already started. Make sure your valley isn't that deep. You're somebody that I was really excited today when I woke up this morning and I said, today we have this podcast together because you are somebody that has not only been an influence for me professionally, has helped me excel in my business with open doors and opportunities that you've always helped create, opening the doors of your own real estate brokerage when I first started doing inspections. But you're somebody that you were at my wedding. The only realtor, and people don't get jealous, the only agent, the only business professional that I work with that went to my wedding was you and your wife.
Thank you.
If you look at this tan was from us being this weekend at a sandbar in the Florida Keys. So we do life activities together.
Yes.
So I'm really blessed and honored to have you here today because not only have I seen your journey grow professionally, but I've seen you become a man of God throughout the journey as well.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for this today, Abel.
So am I.
And well, let's start with your journey. I know your story, but I want people to hear your story, your journey as to how you and One Path got here today.
Well, I mean, where do I start? I basically, I'm an immigrant, just like many people that we know that we're surrounded by.
I didn't know that. I thought you were actually born here.
No. I was originally born in Ecuador. My parents made the decision when I was 12 for us to come to the U.S. I grew up with a mom who was self-employed and with a father who was an employee. So I grew up watching both ways of living, and I was influenced very early on by that different life, right? By the mom that was self-employed, had the time to be there for me, still had many difficulties, and then the father who had a 9 to 5 and who wasn't there, not because he didn't want to, but because he wasn't able to, right? So that's really what started, I think, the wiring, right, of like what I wanted and what I didn't want for my own life. So I very early on, I literally opened my first business when I was 14 years old.
And what was that?
It was a clothing company.
Oh, wow.
And I was so young that I couldn't create my own corporation. So my mom created it for me. I started designing clothing and selling it across different stores. So yeah, I think my journey of entrepreneurship really started, obviously at a very young age. And then just through life circumstances, around when I was 21 years old, real estate found me. I didn't find it.
That's
real
typically
estate
the way it
found
goes,
me.
right?
Yeah, but you see, I think, and this is where just things happen for a reason, and where you just, you stop questioning why. You just begin to accept things, right? What happened with me later on in life and later on in my career, I realized that I couldn't have found a better industry for me, because what brings me the most fulfillment is being able to help families, being able to help parents own a home for their children.
Yep.
There was a time in my life where I didn't have my own bedroom, and I remember my mom would take my sister and I on the weekends to open houses, and I didn't know it at the time, but we would go to open houses to homes that we couldn't even afford. And I remember going into these, big homes and just like imagining myself in these bedrooms,
Dreaming, yeah.
right? Like, wow, like this would be my room. This is where my toys would go, not knowing that we couldn't even make it happen. But that's what gave me that fuel to later on when I did become an agent. I realized like that was my motivation, right? To be able to help those parents provide for those children the rooms that I didn't have. And today, I mean, I'm so blessed. I'm able to give my children their own bedroom, and and over the years, like right now when you were reading over the numbers, to be able to help more than 4,000 families, like the foundation of that was the goal of being able to help families do that for their kids.
Wow. Yeah, that's so powerful. That brought me back to when I was a kid. And I used to share a bedroom with my sister and my little brother, and how important it was for me, for my kids to have their own bedrooms. And so things that we just take for granted that we don't realize.
Yeah.
And that's why every day we need to have that attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
And speaking of your kids, here's one thing I could bank on, man. Every single day when I wake up in the morning and I go to my stories, there is a picture of a selfie with you and your kids there. As a matter of fact, this morning, my wife woke up before me and I looked to see, and she's on her phone, and it was your story. She was liking your story of you with your kids, your selfie that you take.
Yeah.
And one thing I know about you, Abel, is you're a phenomenal dad, and you've raised phenomenal children. And I respect you so much for that, right? Because it's hard to do that. Now, I know you have triplets.
Yeah.
You've had triplets. You got to tell us about that. But how did having kids change the way that you saw life, change your standards, and the way that you looked at work?
Well, I mean, it really depends on which part of life, right? Because I think being a father, really for me, the decision of being the best father I could be happened before my children were even born.
Okay,
right?
tell me about that.
Obviously we all have different stories, happy stories or stories of struggle.
Of course.
And, through my personal story, I made a decision very early on that I wanted to be the version of the father that I didn't have. So prior to having our children, I knew that's who I was going to become. Then later in life, we were blessed. My wife and I were blessed with not one, not two, but three kids at the same time. So when that happened, we were ready. We embraced it. We were ready for the responsibility. And being a parent, it depends on how you take on the responsibility, right? I feel like there's no perfect time to have children. For us, it wasn't the perfect time, but ultimately it ended up being the perfect time.
Yeah.
Right. But it was just because of how we embraced it. And I think it changes you as a person, as a man, or as a woman, if you're a mom. It changes you based on the season that you're in, right? The season that I'm in right now is a season of just knowing that we're in this never-ending journey of evolution, right? Where it doesn't matter how good you think you are, you have to always keep evolving.
That's it.
I love my children. I love my wife. I love the gift God has given me of leadership. But I also understand that I always got to keep getting better. So same thing as with being a father. I think the number one thing we need to be able to accomplish as being parents is the ability to be present. Perfection doesn't exist, but you got to be present. And the thing is, like, what I was telling you earlier about multiple decisions. Listen, we're distracted by so many things, especially through our phones, right?
Oh, yeah.
How many alerts do we have? How many text messages we have coming in? How many phone calls? Instagram DMs, right? Whatever alerts you have on your phone. So it's a very important decision we all need to make to, when we get distracted, reminding ourselves that we need to go back to the moment and be present with those that matter most.
Of course, because your kids need you.
That's right.
And sometimes, like, we're not there. And that's something that sometimes I feel. And I have like a rule, right? If it's like during work hours and I'm on my phone working, they understand. It's like, hey, Papi has to take a call because it's during work, or I have to answer this, etc.
Yeah.
But when we're on a weekend, when it's after hours, I need to dedicate them the time and the attention that they need, because if I don't give that to them, they're going to go looking for it in somebody else.
Yeah.
And
I call that harmony, by the way. Because in music, right, like you have a bunch of instruments playing, and then it gets to a point where there's harmony, where they all sound good together. So I think like that's the way I see life, right? Especially for a man or a woman who's in business, you can't look for the perfect black and white, right? You gotta navigate through your phone calls, through your responsibilities, and your significant other and your children. They need to also understand those responsibilities, so that when someone requires you or a situation needs you, you're able to be present in the situation. But once the situation is over, then you're back to being present with those that are there for you and with you.
of course, and it's good for your kids to see you working
Absolutely.
and see you dealing with issues, because
Yes.
you're building that in them. You said at age 21 you got into real estate.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now, so in 2001 you started real estate.
Yeah.
When did you realize that you weren't meant to sell, that you were meant to build?
That's an amazing question. It wasn't a realization that just happened in one day, right? It was literally a process. It was actually like an evolution of promises that were being made and weren't being fulfilled.
Okay, so it kind of motivated you.
Yeah, it made me realize that I couldn't overpromise and underdeliver. What happened with me, right? Like I was telling you, I was very much driven by the clarity that my goal was to help families become homeowners, so that more and more kids can have their own bedrooms, right? So there was a time in my life when I realized, you know what? I can only help 50 to 60 families a year by myself.
Yep.
More than that, I will completely jeopardize my quality of life. I will be the opposite of who I say I am for my family. So that's when I realized, like, you know what? There's not going to be a perfect time for me to start my own team. Let's start, right? So the opportunity presented itself. We hired an agent, then we hired another agent. And then I started realizing that, these agents were coming to work with me because they wanted to learn from me. They wanted to be like me. And because I was busy with selling real estate, I wasn't fulfilling my promise. So, going back to your question, it wasn't an overnight decision. It was mostly a decision of I needed to stop diluting, right, my highest and best use of my abilities. I was great at selling real estate, but I needed to replace that fulfillment with another fulfillment, which was to help agents be great at their skills through leadership, through mentorship. And then ultimately we could help more families by doing that. So,
yes.
So that's how it started.
So that was all part of your plan in order to achieve your goals of helping families. And that's why you've helped 4,088 families.
Yeah.
And okay, so one of the biggest struggles for us as business owners is letting go of control and for the business to not depend on me for every transaction. In order to do that, you have to build systems. Yeah. So what was the first system that you built so that every transaction doesn't go through you?
Well, when it comes to a real estate company and a real estate team specifically, there are multiple departments. And the one, since you're asking me about my first one, the first thing I wanted to get off my plate was transaction coordination, right? Like I knew that the highest and best use of my abilities was building relationships and nurturing relationships. So the first thing I let go of was transaction coordination. And my first transaction coordinator was actually my wife.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like I delegated those responsibilities to her so that I could then focus on the things that I knew would help us, right? Like help more people, make more money. So it started with transaction coordination. Then it went into marketing. Then it went into realizing, hey, like I have a lot of clients. I need to be able to delegate showing houses or doing open houses, to other agents. So then I got an agent as an assistant, and to the point where today we have 12 staff members, and over the years we've helped more than 300 agents.
Wow. I believe that a lot of people don't grow because of their inability to let go of power or let go of control, or thinking that people can't do things as good as I could do.
That's right.
The way that I've been able to scale and grow my inspection company is because I believe that if I train inspectors to be 70% of who I could be as an inspector, that's still 100% better than anybody else out there. And you have to let go of that control. You got a transaction coordinator, you delegated marketing, you delegated all these things. If you're trying to control everything, you're limited in what you do. And as you're growing, you have to make sure that you maintain your quality. Because One Path Realty, you're a man of integrity. You want to make sure that everyone looks at you as a great company with great service, with great people, etc. What are 3 non-negotiable systems that you use to keep your quality high?
Well, before we go into that, Louis, I do want to make sure that I address something you said about letting go. I feel like most of us are always in this pursuit, right, of what's the next level? How do I get to the next level? So we're looking for the next shiny strategy or the next shiny lead source. But the reality, what I found in my career and in my life, is that the next level really comes after you let go of something. Right?
Yeah.
And typically, the first thing you need to let go of is whatever it is attaching your identity, right, to who you think you are and who you think you won't be, right, if you were to let go of something, if you were to lose control. So your next level is really a decision away from the perspective of what are you letting go of. You let go of something, it's easier for you to get to the next level.
You got to let go of things.
Yeah.
Because you can't handle the load of everything. And you got to get out with the old and in with the new.
Yeah, and and here's the thing: there's a chronological order too of like letting go, because once you let go of something, the next step is typically you need to redesign your identity, right? Like where you go into like I'm no longer who I used to be, right? Because I made the conscious decision of letting that go, and that's the next piece, right? Like redesigning who you are, whether it is in general or in a specific area of your business.
Letting go and redesigning myself. I remember, Abel, it was 2019, about April of 2019. And I was in my coaching group. I had joined coaching in October of 2018. And the owner of the coaching community, I was in my group with companies of my level at that time. And I was doing my presentation. We're going over my numbers and what we were doing, and we were masterminding. And the owner of the coaching community walked in there, and he stood during my presentation. He was just standing in the back. As he was standing in the back, he just goes and he says, "Sorry, Louis, you are never going to hit $1 million in sales as long as you're still doing inspections." And I was like, "What do you mean? I did 500 inspections last year. How could I get off the field? I only got one other inspector."
Yeah.
Like mathematically, that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it was at that moment when I left there, I knew that in order for me to turn my business into $1 million company, I needed to stop doing inspections.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense. Didn't make sense financially, right? But when I left there, I let go and I redesigned myself.
Yeah.
And it was that turning moment that I redesigned myself from being a home inspector to being an entrepreneur.
And redesigning typically starts with a seed, right? Like that guy planted a seed in your mind.
Yep.
And then that seed, it starts growing, right? And it starts taking over your thoughts. And then it starts helping you with your decision making, right? It starts putting you in situations and in conversations that just expand it, right? And that's why I also think like, we should always be in this never ending journey of learning, and
Every day.
and figuring out better ways to do what you do.
Yeah, the day that you stop learning is the day that you stop growing.
Yeah.
Because we're never going to know
Right.
it all. I learn every single
In
day.
every area, by the way.
Yeah.
In every area, not just business, parenthood, your health, your relationships. It's again, it's a conscious effort you need to make, because I've learned that from my own experience. I've had moments in my life where I thought, I had it all figured out, and then life humbled me.
Yes.
And that's why now it's no longer an option. It's just the way I'm wired, right? To like, no matter where I think I am or how good I think I am or how good I think I have it, I'm always striving for evolving my skills as a leader, and then being able to provide that environment for others, right? Because then you can't impose things on people. You can't make people do things. What my responsibility is to provide an environment, and then people will choose to either take advantage or not.
And in regards to that, Abel, how is it that you are able to coach someone without micromanaging them?
It depends. It really depends on which stage that person is in, right? I do think that depending on depending on the relationship you have with an agent, right? Like some micromanagement, and in fact, like I don't like using the definition micromanagement. I think it's more about accountability, right? Like I think real estate is a very you're self-employed, go do things on your own industry, right? Like that's been the mindset. But the reality is that we are in an industry of sales, right? And if you are running a real estate team where you're providing support, guidance, systems, accountability, leads, and a community, right? There's got to be a clear commitment from both sides. And that's where I don't like using micromanagement as a definition. I do like accountability.
Accountability is your best ability.
That's right. Because that's where you confirm the commitment, right? Like you want to hold me accountable? Great. Because I'm confident that if you hold me accountable, I am delivering on my commitment. But that's my goal, right? Like in this industry is to is to evolve and develop the mind of the agent to be able to help them reach their goals. But here's the thing, I got to help you from yourself,
Yes.
right? Because the reality is, and it's not because, I'm better than others. It's because I'm not. It's because I know I'm weak. It's because I know it takes more than just my own self-willingness, right? It takes support. It takes accountability from those around you.
Wow, that's powerful. So it's not coaching, it's not micromanaging.
No.
It's accountability.
That's right.
And it's, I'm accountable to you and you're accountable to me. There
Yeah.
are things that you are accountable to your agents, and there's things that your agents need to be accountable to you for. And I guess that's why it works for you.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, I'll give you an example. Going to the gym, I know how to work out. I know what to do, but I have a trainer there waiting for me.
That's it.
Because I know that together, I know that with his support, with his help, I get to my goals faster, and not just faster, but I stay there, right? Because that's the thing about life and business. It's not about getting there. It's about staying
That's
there.
it. Sustainability.
And
Yeah.
that's why when it comes to real estate, when it comes to team building, it's not about, being number one on the list. It's about staying at number one
Staying
on the
there,
list.
yes.
It's about helping the agent not just reach their goals, but staying there. And that's the biggest muscle that you can build in real estate and in life is the muscle of sustainability.
Staying power. Everything that I'm going to do in business, in my personal life, I always think about it and say, is this sustainable?
Yeah.
Am I able to do this long term? And if it's something that's not sustainable, I'm not investing my energy into that.
Right.
And it's great that you talk about that, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
And in scaling your business, I remember scaling my business, there's things that always break. What was the first thing that broke, and how did you fix it?
I don't remember exactly what was the first thing that broke. Actually, now that I think about it, I was the first thing that broke.
Ooh, tell me about that. That's
Yeah, and when it comes to breaking, right, it's like it's you get to moments of frustration, right? I think as a business owner, that's probably something that always happens, right? Like you get frustrated with other people,
yes.
right? Like that's the first impression. You're frustrated with other people, but then I also feel it's important to do an honest self-assessment, right? Like you're frustrated with others, but what was your involvement in that situation? What did you do or didn't you do as a leader that caused that situation? So, going back to like, what was the first thing that broke? Definitely myself, right? But the thing about breaking is also about, I learned this quote a long time ago, which is people don't get exposed by when they're on top. They're exposed by when their back is against the wall.
Wow. That's
So
good.
when I learned that, I realized, like, you know what? When I get frustrated, I know others are watching, but more importantly, I'm watching, right? So it's important that when you get to those moments, don't break. Just figure out like what is it that you have to do to fix it, and then you got to be able to communicate that vision as well, right? You got to be able to communicate that message in a way that is empathetic, but in a way that gets you to your goal.
Yes, it's remaining calm through the storm.
That's right.
And that's the truth of life. It's the difficult times that shows you your character.
Yeah.
When you're on top, that shows your charisma.
That's right.
But when you are in a difficult moment, that's when your true character comes out.
Absolutely.
That's something one of my first pastor taught me.
Yeah.
And he says it's in the tough times is when you see someone's true
That's right.
character.
Yeah.
And I guess the system that broke first was you.
Yeah.
And you needed to fix it.
Yeah. When it comes to like internal systems, man, it's breaking every day, right? Like things break every day. But what matters is understanding that when something breaks, you figure out what the solution is,
Yes.
and you make it happen. You take action. But over time, one thing I've learned also, another thing I've learned through business is systems are important, but the people that are going to help you manage those systems are as important. Because as leaders, we think at the beginning, oh, you know what, like no one's going to do it better than me. But the reality is that if you don't leverage other people in your business, we're human, so we cannot handle everything. And it's important to be able to find the people that are going to help you sustain those systems in order to, number one, have that quality of life for yourself and be able to truly deliver on the promises you're making to others.
That's very important, right? Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's one of our core values.
Yeah.
Problem solvers. We're problem solvers. We do what we say we're going to do. That's 2 of our 4 core values in our company, and things that I live by every day.
That's
if you
amazing.
promise something to somebody, you do it.
Yeah.
And if we're problem solvers, every day we have to solve problems.
Yeah.
It's like I get paid, you get paid because we solve problems every single day.
That's right.
And for someone, Abel, that's let's say right now someone's listening that's trying to build a team. What's the one system they need to install first before they decide to grow?
Well, when it comes to a real estate team, a real estate company, really any company, you got to be clear that there are multiple departments, right, in a business. You've got sales, you've got marketing, operations, finance, recruitment, learning or training. The heart of every business is sales, right? That's what pumps the blood so that the business can grow, so that the business can afford to hire support. So if you're trying to start a team and you're trying to really take yourself to the next level, right, where you need to start in sales. You need to start in, number one, making sure that your client relationship management, right, which is the acronym is CRM.
Yes.
You got to make sure you have the right CRM. And the right CRM is really whatever works for you. It could be a sheet of paper, but in today's world, you do have to evolve to systems, right, where you can have your databases and then make sure that you're seeking ways to be present for those clients, and so that you can teach those same systems to your agents. Because ultimately, if you're providing opportunities through leads, but those leads aren't being managed well, then at the end of the day, you're costing yourself money and frustration, because then you're always just seeking the next new client.
Yep. And it's like having a bucket with a hole in it. You're putting water in the bucket, but there's a hole that the water is draining right out of there.
Exactly.
One thing that I know about you, Abel, is that people look at you, and I see it from afar because I'm not a realtor. I'm not inside your brokerage, but I attend a lot of your events. I'm around a lot of your agents, and people look at you as a leader. And you could tell you're a good leader by the people that you have under you, because you have stars and studs of agents that have been with you for years in an industry where I say that there's no loyalty. People switch brokerages like they switch their shoes. So how is it that you actually lead people? What's your strategy?
Well, I think leadership it starts with responsibility, accepting that leading is a responsibility. There is no one way to lead, in my opinion, right? It starts with understanding that you have a responsibility of helping others reach their goals. Leadership requires learning. It requires putting yourself in uncomfortable positions. It requires being humble enough to recognize that you're wrong. And at the same time, being able to figure out a way to improve and make better choices. I think leadership is also a way in which we can influence others, right? I've learned that it's so important to lead from a place of giving and not from a place of getting.
Okay, good.
Many times when you're running a business, you do it from a perspective of, we're doing this to make money, right? Ultimately, that is the ultimate goal of a business, to create revenue. But when you lead from a place of balancing that with empathy, with truly caring about helping others grow, you don't force. You're not forcing people to stay with you. And by the way, it doesn't matter how good of a leader you are. Relationships are always going to either end or continue, right?
Yes.
It's just the reality of life. So when it comes to loyalty is really up to the moment that there is convenience in the relationship, right? Like if there isn't a shared convenience between the two, or like if the value isn't there from one of the two, that's when loyalty can end, right? But from a place of leadership, you don't expect that. Like I don't do things expecting for others to return it. I just do things because I know they are the right thing to do. And then from there, the relationship will either continue or it won't. That's out of my control.
Yeah, there's one thing that I'm going to take away from your leadership today that I learned now from listening to you, is that you are leading people by figuring out, what do you want to accomplish? What are your goals?
That's right.
And how I could help you get to your goals.
That's right.
And then being in a position that I am giving without expecting anything in return. You also told me that when you meet with your agents, you don't even talk about business. What are those conversations that you're having with your agents? If you're not talking about business, what are these conversations? And how does it impact their performance?
Well, there's different tiers of conversations, right? Like in our business, we have different mentors, different directors that have the business conversations. But what happens with my conversations with agents, to be honest, what I care about the most is how are they doing in their life, right? Like, how are they carrying the weight that comes from relationships, that comes from parenthood, that comes from their own evolution in faith or lack of faith? Because what I've realized is that, business and making money it's the tool you use to live the life you want. Mm-hmm. But if you are allowing that tool to create your identity, and your identity is completely attached to that, then you forget the reasons why you started, right? So like my conversations with my agents are really about, how can I help you continue to design the life that you want, versus how are we doing this month? Are you going to meet your sales goals or not, right? Like that is going to be a result of how well are they navigating through their own life.
Yeah, so you're reverse selling your own agents, in
That's
other
right.
words.
And by the way, I've learned that from my own mistakes, right? Because I've had the relationships where I wasn't there in that area of their lives, right?
Yes.
And then unfortunately, some of those relationships ended for us, and those relationships, and within those relationships, things went in the wrong directions. So I've learned that the biggest value I can bring to the people around me is, how can I use my influence and the decisions I've made in my life to build my life? How can I help them design and get to the life that they want?
Yeah, that's so good, and something that I've known that you've been doing this, and something that I've tried to copy that or implement that inside my own business with my own team, right? Because I have my managers and my leaders that have those difficult conversations about performance and all these things. And when I interact with my inspectors or my other team members, what I try to do is have those personal conversations where they already know that when they're getting the conversations from my managers, they know that it's coming from the top. But at least the interactions that I have with them is better. And that's why you have the people that you have on your team. And that's why you have so many agents been with you for so many years. You have so many special people at One Path that have been there for so long. People like Gus, Irene, just to name a couple, right? There's obviously more, but they're such special people, such good people, and they're there for such a long time. Yeah. And it's because of you pouring into them and you being there for them.
Yeah.
And you told me one day, I never forget that you told me one day, Louis, your inspectors work for you because they want to be like you.
Yeah.
So you need to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So ever since you told me that day, that's never left me.
Yeah.
And when I interact with my agents, I look at it that way. My inspectors, I look at it that way. You should see when I'm not involved in the hiring process. My team hires the inspectors. I meet them when they join the team, when they're in training.
Yeah.
And when I walk in and I see them, they're like, oh man, and they look at me, I see you from the videos, and wow, because they're so amazed, because what I've been able to build in the inspection industry, not a lot of people have been able to do it. So I look at it from that position and I say, let me try to give these guys as much as I can. As a matter of fact, I took a page out of your book a couple of weeks ago. We hired 4 guys. They're in training right now. And I grabbed them and I said, hey, block off the calendar. Let's find the vacant property. And I want to take them to a vacant home, and I want to do a mock inspection with them and help train them. And during that time, I took them to lunch. I got to interact with them. I got to be with them. And I did that once before. When you told me that, I did that last year. And I did it again now. And those inspectors that I went out and I trained with and I invested into them, they're some of my top guys still right now, which shows everything is about leadership.
Yeah.
And I know that in leadership, there's a lot of leadership that's lacking specifically in real estate. I see it because of the way that agents behave or the way that agents act. What do you think is lacking specifically in real estate leadership?
Well, I mean, not necessarily that it's lacking, but we live in a world where there are so many distractions. I think most people are distracted. I think most people don't have a clear foundation of, number one, what do they stand for? And then number two, what are they striving for? Right. So I think it's what's lacking is focus, right? It's understanding that their focus really determines the quality of their results, right? So focus and distraction, those are the two biggest pieces that are influencing leadership right now.
Yes. And is there, for instance, like when knowing who you are, something that helped me in my business and my coach taught me was to get into the EOS system. And we developed the EOS system in my company, and I built my business with the EOS system. Is there like any systems or books that could teach you that? Like for instance, Traction, like the EOS system from Traction is what we use. Is there anything specifically that you used?
I've used all types of things. We also do use EOS as the operating system for our business. Well, again, every department has different systems, right? So for sales, one thing that's been important for me, and not just in sales, but life in general, is surrounding myself by mentors, right? So I've had mentors in every area of my life, sales, operations, marketing, but the most significant influence I've received through mentorship has been through leadership, right? Like that guidance, that those seeds that have been planted over the years, and not just through intentional mentorship, but also through observing the right people around me, right? Like the people that I've chosen to be surrounded by. So that's really how I create my operating systems.
Yep.
You know, my operating systems, and by the way, like you could have an operating system, but you still need to make real-time decisions.
Yes.
Right? On how to either tweak it or what to let go of or what to implement, right? So each department has its own, but there is a general one that basically manages all.
And it's very important that you said that, right? Because you have mentors. You have people that you are accountable to.
Yeah.
That you go to learn from. And then what you receive, you grab that and you pour it out to your people.
That's right.
So that's one thing, that if you're going to be a good leader, you need to make sure that you're feeding yourself.
That's right.
In order to feed the people that's under you. Because if not, all you're going to do is raise a bunch of malnutritioned children.
Yeah.
Or malnutritioned agents or team members. So you need to be consistently feeding yourself and making yourself better in order to make better those that are under you. I
agree with you. I think one of the responsibilities of a leader is to be in a never-ending journey of growth, of learning new skills.
Never stop learning.
Of elevating your own skills so that you can then elevate others. And it's not about going to places and learning and then not doing anything about it. Is how do you use that to create an environment where others can also decide to either use it or not, but at least you're providing the environment.
Of course. And Abel, one thing I see with you is you're a confident man. You know, it's good, and you got to have confidence to be a leader, because nobody wants to follow a leader that's not confident. Were you born with confidence, or did you develop it? Tell me about that.
You know, I feel that confidence is a muscle, right? Confidence is not something that you're born with. Confidence is something that you build over time. You build it through repetition.
100%.
You build it through doing it over and over again. So when somebody tells me, like what you just said right now, right, that I'm confident in the areas that I know what I'm talking about. I'm not confident in the areas that I'm not an expert at, right? So that's why, like, I'm not trying to express anything that I'm not an expert at. So confidence comes from repetition, comes from building the muscle.
Doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Myron Golden said that repetitive use of a limited ability produces an increased capacity.
Yeah.
So it's every day doing the same thing over and over. Just when we started this podcast,
Yeah.
I remember the first episode when I did it and I looked at it, I was so nervous and I said, that's going to be the worst one.
Yeah.
That's the worst one, because as I do it more and more, I'm going to get better and better and
That's
better.
right.
And that repetition, like I in August, I started a journey in martial arts. My daughters joined martial arts. I joined martial arts. At 39 years old, I started it.
Wow.
And then I go in there and I see these guys doing these kicks and doing all these things. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get there. And little by little, during the martial arts, every day, I'm getting better. That now the other people that are new go there and they see me and they're like, man, you're good. I want to be just like you, man. You know, and it's like, hey, I wasn't born with this. It's a repetitive use of a limited ability that produced that increased capacity.
That's right. And, I think one of the things that blocks people from developing their confidence is that they are too judgmental with themselves, right? Like they do the thing or they say the thing, right? And then after the thing, they're thinking back about what they said right or what they said wrong or how they could have said this better or whatever it is. So what I've learned is that instead of coming from a place of judgment, come from a place of being a witness. Because when you come from a place of being a witness, instead of judging yourself, you learn from the thing that you either did or didn't do. Instead of judging yourself.
That is 100% a value that I have in my life. It's like, hey, I might be bad today, and that's okay. I don't care what no one thinks of me. Because if I continue doing this, there's no way that I'm not going to learn this, and there's no way that I'm not going to get better.
Yeah.
And even when that insecurity kicks in, because insecurity will always kick in.
Yeah.
What did people think of you? I look like a fool doing this, etc. What do you do when insecurity hits you? And what are those insecurities that kind of hit you that no one knows about? And what do you do about it?
I don't honestly feel a lot of insecurities because I just go for the thing that I need to do and I figure it out as I do it. I have this way of thinking of like, you build the plane while you fly it, right? I no longer wait for me to feel like I am the expert at something in order for me to get it going, right? So like I just go for it. And then in the process, if I do feel the insecurity or the lack of confidence, I just keep trying until I become better. Or if I realize that it's not the right thing to do, right? And then I pivot. So as far as insecurities, I just go for the thing that makes me uncomfortable. And then I know that in the process, I'll figure it out.
Dwayne Wade said, you fall 7 times, you stand up 8 times.
Yeah.
And that's a mentality that you have to have. I have that same mentality. You use a plane, I use a boat. You know me, man. Look at the tan. I'm a boat guy. And we talk a lot about boating and things like that. And I always say, my plan is, let me get the boat on the water. Let me get it floating. Let me get it running. Then I start adjusting ride quality and other things. And you can't be afraid of what other people think of you, because then that's going to take away the confidence that you're building through your repetition.
And by the way, since you talk about boating, the reason why a boat sinks is because of the water that gets in.
Come on. Yes.
So if you think about when does a person sink, it's because of the thoughts that you allow to come in. So again, back to focus and distraction. The thoughts that you allow into your mind are the ones that are going to make you sink. So what if instead you keep focus, right? And you avoid distractions. But here's the thing, you cannot control the distractions from coming in, but you could control how long they last.
Absolutely. That's so good. What sinks the boat is water, and the water that comes in is what sinks that boat.
That's right.
And those are your thoughts.
Exactly.
Those are the things that come in.
Yeah.
Where do you see agents losing the most confidence with? And what do you tell them to get back up?
Well, it really depends on the scenarios, right? Like obviously in real estate, you've got different ways of generating business. You've got referrals, past clients, online leads, or really just strangers, right? Through calling expired for sale by owners. I think where agents get stuck is obviously in generating opportunities and generating enough conversations. Because once you get past that, then it's just a game of numbers, right? So I think most people get stuck in taking action. And then from there, once you take action, things flow, possibilities flow, because it's all probabilities.
Activity breeds activity.
That's right.
And that's the main thing. I know so many people that are smarter than me, more educated than me. But guess what? They overthink things.
That's right.
And they freeze.
Yeah.
And they think things too much before doing something.
Yeah.
And that's why you just have to go and you just have to do it. Get your feet wet. Hey, you do cold plunges. You've been trying to get me to do cold plunges for a long time. Tell me, Abel, when you're gonna get in the cold plunge, what is it? Do you go in there little by little, or do you just get in?
Well, it depends on the day, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been doing it for 2 years, almost every day, and even till today, my brain tells me no, right? But my mind is the one that pushes me in. So I do go into the cold plunge with like my own personal challenge of how fast can I get in? How fast can I get in? Because I know that once I stay in, I'm gonna be fine. But the biggest challenge for me is how long is it gonna take me to get in the water? And yeah, cold plunging has a lot of benefits, but the biggest benefit to me was when I realized the separation between the brain and the mind, right? Like the brain is the one that tries to protect you from danger, but the mind is the one that pushes you to do the thing you don't want to do, but you know that you should do, right? So for me, cold plunging is mostly about like, how do I get my mindset to help me do the things that I have to do?
That's it. And that's the moral and the lesson for agents today is take the cold plunge.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Jump in the water.
Yeah.
Stop overthinking things.
Once you're in the water, you get comfortable.
That's it. Absolutely.
Right? So like, in fact, in the cold plunge, it takes me 2 minutes to basically feel numbed, right? And then from there, when it comes to, I'm not an expert, by the way, on cold plunging, so I'm not here to give any cold plunging advice. But what I've realized is the longer you're in there, the easier it is to stay in there, right? So that's why the goal is not to stay for 10, 15 minutes. The goal is to stay in there, get the benefits, and then get out. But here's what the biggest benefit is. The biggest benefit is throughout the rest of the day, right? The level of energy you have, clarity, mood. That's really what I'm seeking when I do it.
Yep. And and we could use that for business and use that for life.
That's right.
The moment that you jump into that hard thing that you're afraid to do,
it gets easier.
It gets easier.
Right, because you build the muscle.
Comfortable and you're building a muscle. And that's how
right.
you build confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence is like a muscle.
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me what a time that confidence has opened up doors for you that you thought never existed, got you in rooms that you never thought you could get in because you had confidence.
Well, moments in which I feel like it's helped me create opportunities. I'll tell you a specific moment. There was this one event I was in, and there was this incredible speaker giving the presentation. And then at the end, there was about 300 people in the room. And then at the end of the presentation, he said, I'm going to help one person, right? So raise your hand if you need help with something. And I raised my hand. And after raising my hand, I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? Right? Because I'm an introvert. I'm a person that, I recharge in silence. I don't recharge through conversation. I don't necessarily seek attention, right? I don't seek it because it doesn't fuel me. But I do it when I know there's a purpose for it, right? So the reason I raised my hand was because I knew that there was a purpose. I knew that if this person can help me break through those limiting beliefs, I would be able to achieve and become the person that I wanted to become. So, when it comes to breaking through and like just improving your leadership, your confidence, it's really, again, pushing yourself to do the thing that you're uncomfortable with, and then just wait until you get the other side. Because once you get to the other side of that uncomfortness, now you can actually decide whether you want to continue doing it or not. But until you do it, you don't know.
Yep. And it's crazy how every person that sat in that chair, they've always said, you got to get comfortable in being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And everyone who's successful has done things that are uncomfortable. And it's every time I see it. And that gives me strength to do things that are uncomfortable every day as well.
And by the way, it doesn't end. There's still things I haven't done because I'm uncomfortable with them. But once you start doing things that make you uncomfortable, then it's just about what's the next thing and what's the next thing.
That's it.
Because I tell you right now, there's a lot of things I've done that I've overcome, but there's a lot more that I still need to overcome.
Beautiful. I look, Abel, I've seen you grow as a businessman, as a professional, but I've been able to witness and see your growth in your faith. And I think that has been super special in seeing that, how it's impacted you, your wife, your children, your entire family. And being at church with you a few weeks ago, worshiping the Lord together there with you, was like, wow, man, you know, what has faith changed in your life? From your perspective as father, as a husband, as a businessman, like, what has faith changed in you?
Well, I mean, I this might sound cliche, but it's changed everything. You know, I've been very conscious over my adult life on developing my mind. How do I break through my own limiting beliefs? How do I elevate myself? How do I become more self-reliant? And I remember there was this one specific moment in my life where I was surrounded by all the things I dreamed of, and I was still miserable. And that's when I realized, like, no, like, there's got to be more. There's got to be a better way. How could it be that I've done all this? How could it be that I've been to every Tony Robbins seminar multiple times? I've read all the books. I've listened to all the tapes, and I've accomplished, right? Like, on what on paper seems like the best life. How could it be that I still feel miserable? And that's when I realized that your mindset only gets you this far. Beyond that is your relationship with God. And once you have your relationship with God, however it is that you get there and however it is that you sustain it, it's not even forced, right? It goes into every area of your life, into the way you lead, the way you communicate with others, the way that you carry weight, right? Like, I think that's one of the biggest and most important pieces of God's influence in me, is realizing that I'm not the one that's carrying the weight by myself. And when you realize that, that's when, you know, it's just one of those things that you can use to help you just make that next decision.
That you're never alone.
That's right.
People look at God as this big supernatural being that's somewhere in heaven.
Yeah.
But the reality is that God is always with you.
That's right.
He's a father that's right there with you.
Yeah.
He's with us here right now. And every day when I have my alone time with God, and I know that my burdens are his burdens, my worries are his worries, that he's my protector, that he's my strength, that he's the one that's going to empower me. And it was knowing and understanding that every door that opens in my life is because he opened it up before me.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to switch our mentality from, like, looking at God as this God that's mad at me, to this God that's madly in love with me.
Yeah.
And from God as this God that wants to strike me down and judge me, to the God that's my father.
Yeah.
And loves me.
That's right.
That's always there for me. And what did you find in God and in faith that you couldn't find in success?
Well, honestly, what I found was realizing that he was there all along, right? And it started by realizing that it started by me being conscious about gratitude, right? Because we talk about gratitude, we get to Thanksgiving, we're grateful, we're thankful, obviously for things, for people, for environments. But when you start making conscious decisions about having a relationship with God, what started with me was realizing that he was there all along, especially when I didn't know he was there.
Oh, man, yes.
Right? So for me, step one was gratitude, and realizing that everything that I had happened because of him. And if he's shown up for me, even when I didn't know, how will show up when I know that he is there? So it started with gratitude. And to me, the ultimate goal of my relationship with God is submission, right? It's accepting his will, whether I like it or not. And I feel like if we can accomplish that, I mean, it doesn't matter what happens to you. You will still praise him, and you will still thank him, even if it wasn't what you wanted.
Absolutely. Now, the Bible says that not a leaf falls off a tree if it's not God's will.
Yeah.
The Bible also says that God works for the good of those who love him.
Yeah.
So you know that if you love God, everything that happens in your life is for your good.
That's right.
And when you talked about him being there all along, that's my favorite Bible verse, like the Bible verse that transformed my life. And it's in Romans, and it says, "For God showed his great love for us, that while we were yet still sinners, Christ died for us."
Yeah.
It's like God didn't wait until I cleaned my act up in order for him to die for us and give his life for us and save us. No, it was while we were yet still sinners. That's when he died for us.
Yeah.
You know, what would you say right now today to someone watching that is doubting God, that is stuck, insecure, anxious, and doubting God, or maybe what's happening in their lives and they're questioning God because of that?
Well, I think it starts with having an open mind. Nobody has all the answers, right? Especially if you're not open to having a relationship with your creator. It starts with an open mind. And then the next steps are what can you do to get closer, right? Like what can you do? Because you can't just say, okay, I'm going to believe in God, but allow yourself to be in an environment that is surrounded by darkness, right? And by darkness, I don't just mean, the literal darkness, right? Or like the literal like you think of the devil. No, by darkness, I mean, what are environments that are pulling you away? Sort of like being on the water. What's making you drift? How can you get near the boat? How can you stay near the boat? You stay near the boat by holding onto a rope.
Yes.
Right? So like, what's your rope? And what I found through my relationship with God is that my rope is worship music. My rope is praying with my wife. My rope is reading the Bible. My rope is going to church, going to our Bible studies. Again, it doesn't matter who you think you are. If there's a better way to do it, why don't you just try it?
Yes.
And then once you try it, once you do it, it's going to prove itself.
Yes, absolutely. It's every day. The world is full of so much negative information and negativity every day. You go on Instagram, it's clickbait. It's meant to give you negative news that you're consistently feeding into your spirit and feeding into your brain. And what you're doing is you're renewing your mind. You're feeding yourself words of hope, words of affirmation, inspiration. And that's what we need every day because we carry a big weight. And there's a lot of things that we deal with on a daily basis. And if I'm consistently watching stuff on TV that is feeding negativity in my life, or if I'm listening to music that's feeding negativity in my life, then it's only going to make me even more negative. And that's why you have to continue to feed yourself. I remember as a teenager, I went through a troubled teenager years. And my first youth pastor, someone that helped transform my life, he told me, "Louis, you have your flesh and you have your spirit. And the one that you feed the most is the one that's going to be stronger."
Yeah, so good.
So it's like, what are you feeding? Are you feeding your flesh more, or are you feeding your spirit more? Now, never forget Pastor Alex. Shout out to Pastor Alex Sagat from Calvary Church in Kendall. He said, he talked about waking up in the morning. The first thing we do is grab our phones, man.
Yeah.
When he preached that day, I was like, right? And ever since that day, I transformed myself where when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that I do is I say, "God, thank you for this day. Thank you for giving me another day and another breath of life. Thank you for waking me up this morning." I thank God, gratitude before anything else and before I pick up the phone or do anything else in my life.
And by the way, those are all the little decisions that influence your life, right? Yeah, your life doesn't happen in the year or in the 10 years. Your life happens in the moments, in the daily moments. So if you start creating what I call these little life hacks, right? Like what you just said, instead of getting your phone, you wake up and you express gratitude. That builds up into something stronger, into something better, right? So those are the multiple decisions. And that's why I feel when it comes to business, when it comes to your personal life, you have to live a life by design, not by default. And the design, here's the thing, the design happens from your own experiences, right? My design isn't necessarily the best design for you, right? We all have our own way to design our lives based on our circumstances. But it really starts with number one, gratitude. In fact, when we pray, we don't even ask for things. We just express gratitude.
That's it.
Because we already have it all. And we know that if we don't, and whatever he wants for us, it's going to happen. And whatever is not, right? So it's all those little decisions that ultimately create the quality of your life.
Amen to that, Abel. I'm so proud of you, man. And
thank you.
Seeing your journey and where God has taken you and seeing you how you've grown in the faith. And one thing that I got to say is people are always watching.
Yeah.
And through your life and through your testimony and how you live your life every day, people are going to either want to follow God or run from God.
That's right.
So I honor you for living a life that makes people want to follow God.
Thank you, Louis. And it's more important than ever, not just for people like you, people like me, but for everyone. You know, we came from the era of data. Right now we are in the era of attention, but we're going to the era of trust. And so if you really want to impact and you really want to help people, you have to build yourself. But you cannot build yourself on a weak foundation. And if you can build yourself through a foundation of faith, that's when you're really going to impact people the right way.
Amen. Yep, 100%. I agree. Well, this has been powerful. We're going to do some rapid fire now.
Yeah.
And these are quick answers, one hitters. And I'm going to read out the question and you give me a quick answer. All right?
Okay.
One non-negotiable habit.
Taking my kids to school.
Yes, good. I love that you said that. Biggest leadership lesson you learned the hard way.
It's not about seeking perfection. It's about seeking progress.
Good. I love that. Say that again.
It's not about seeking perfection. It's about seeking progress.
Whew, love that. Most underrated skill in real estate.
Making calls.
People don't want to make calls, right? Pick up the phone. One thing agents should stop doing immediately.
Going to inspections.
One thing agents should start doing weekly.
Start doing weekly. Taking a look at their business, their pipeline.
You don't know your business if you don't know your numbers.
That's right.
Best advice you've ever gotten.
Oh my God. I don't know if it's advice, but it's more about it's a metaphor. And I said it earlier, you don't get exposed by when you're on top. You get exposed by when your back is against the wall.
That's good. And that's a mentality that grounds you in those moments.
Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this one. Your go-to reset when stress is high.
Praying,
worship.
Yeah.
Running to the Lord. That's it. That's where I leave all my cares, all my worries. You know, obviously you've known, because you're a close friend of mine, the struggle and the journey that I've gone through with my daughter.
Yeah.
She's doing phenomenal. She's had the best year of her life. Like, God has done a miracle in her life. And I remember that during those times, some of the therapists and the people that are working with her, they'll sit down and say, Dad, what are you doing to cope? What are you doing to handle this? This is so much. And I would just look at them and say, I lock myself in my car, I put on worship, and I worship the Lord, and I cry before the Lord.
Yeah.
And they would look at me like, I'm like, yep, it works.
Yeah.
Finish this. Confidence comes from?
Repetition.
We talked about it. Finish this. A real leader.
Understand that leadership is a responsibility.
Leadership's a responsibility. A best neighborhood in Miami for lifestyle right now. Non-investment, but what would you say, like the best neighborhood from Miami lifestyle?
Coral Gables.
Coral Gables, right?
Yeah.
I agree. Even though you got to have a big lifestyle now to live in Coral Gables.
That's right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Abel, this has been wonderful to be able to do this podcast with you and to be able to get to the point to have you here at where we're at in our lives. And I thank you for our business relationship. I thank you for our personal friendship. I thank you for being a mentor in my life, for everything that you do for the industry. And I'm just grateful for you being here today. And this has been very powerful. And, you know, you have been definitely the most special guest that I brought here on this podcast.
Oh my God, thank you.
So,
what are your other guests going to say?
Oh man, hopefully they're not watching. All right, everyone. This is True Talks, where business meets real life.